ever felt like everything you've done, everything you're doing, nothing seems to be working? You don't seem to be moving on. Or perhaps you feel like you've moved on and then something catapults you backwards and you feel like you're at the beginning again. Welcome to the Mindfuckery Podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth, a trauma healer, author, founder of the Inner Healing Sanctuary. This show has been recognised by FeedSpot as one of the top emotional abuse podcasts worldwide and number 3 in the UK domestic violence category. It's also featured in million podcasts among the best on narcissistic abuse, coercive control and complex trauma. Here we go deeper, clearing emotional and ancestral wounds, breaking cycles of shame, abandonment and betrayal, and reclaiming every part of you, because it stops here, it stops now, and it stops with us. Welcome along. Now, you might have done some therapy, you might have read books, listened to loads of podcasts, watched YouTube videos, but still something doesn't fit. It doesn't feel right. You keep getting catapulted, or you keep bumping into people that trigger your wounds. And that's what it is. It's a trigger. Somebody is saying or doing or vibrating in the same way that you have experienced that vibration before. And when I talk about vibration, it's an energetic vibration. And we all have our own little hum. We all have our own vibration. It's like our thumbprint or our fingerprints. It's unique to us, but we work or vibrate within a range, and that is how we attract or communicate with those around us. It might be that you have that feeling that something isn't right when you meet someone. It's because their vibration is so far out of your vibration that they bounce off each other, or they just don't match, they don't fit. And it might be that you experience this in a way that somebody says something or does something or mirrors something that you've seen before and it triggers you, and that then catapults you back to where you were. You might have done the therapy, and I think it has its place. I think it's great for unpicking, like you might have a ball of wool or a few balls of wool that have all got knotted together or interwoven. It's great for unpicking and seeing, but it only takes you so far. However, you can spend years, decades people spend in therapy, because the real work comes from the wounds. So why does this trauma keep looping? Even when you've taken the courses, you found another podcast or another YouTube video that explains the same thing in a different way, with a different person explaining it. I want to talk about imprints today. I want to talk about the depth of these wounds and why it's so crucial that we need to find the root of them, get to the bottom of it to discover where it comes from. Trauma lands in the body when something significant happens within our life, and that could even be during the birth process or while your mother was pregnant with you. It can start as early as that. Trauma can also be passed through the ancestral line. It can be passed down like a gift of sorts. It can also be passed through the generations by words and terms, keeping people small, what people believe is protecting someone is possibly harming them. So it might be an event that happened to a grandmother or a great-grandmother, and in a way of protection and not wanting that to happen or living in their own trauma, they pass it through. And as I said, that could be energetically, it could actually be through words, actions. Do you know where your trauma has come from? Are you still in these relationships following people thinking that they know or they have the solution, and investing money or buying another course or reading another book, investing time? I cannot tell you how many hours I spent trying to unpick what happened to me. It made no sense. And then I started to unpick it, and then I discovered terms, and I started to realise realised, oh my gosh, I could see the manipulation. And that was part of the reason that I started my YouTube channel and I started writing my book, The A to Z of Emotional Abuse, because it was a project actually that I was looking to launch the YouTube channel, and I couldn't think of anything different or unique. And the videos that I've been watching, the people I've been following, I kept having to go off and find out what terms were. So I thought, well, if I'm having to do that, other people are having to do that. So I went through, and I didn't do the full A to Z, but I did a few. I started with, I actually can't remember now, but I know scapegoating, trauma bonding would have been in there, triangulation would have been in there, gaslighting, have I said that? God, I feel like I'm on a game show. It's the pressure. That is how I started putting it together. And from that, I then wrote an article for Thrive Global. And from that, somebody shared that out. That went out a few times. And I think I did a thing on Instagram, and I had some artwork that I created. It was inner child artwork when I was doing some healing, and it got picked up. Somebody messaged me and said, I hope this is your next book. And that is literally how the A to Z was formed. No, the seed was planted. And from there I did a lot, particularly how it feels, because I think that's really important. How something feels, that numbness or the fear that you get, that you can't breathe or you can't move when you go into freeze. And I've seen it in the people that I work with time and time again, stuck looking for answers. That was me. I was exactly the same. Nothing made sense. My whole reality was flipped. And I had at one point started writing a book, and it had two working titles, and it never went anywhere. I probably won't do anything with it. And one of them was Through the Looking Glass, because I felt like it was Alice through Looking Glass. What my world had been turned upside down. And I lived in this place, and you might recognize it. I lived in this place that was echoey, that I jumped at every single sound. I really struggled for quite a long time with adrenal fatigue. I jumped at everything. I was trying to justify my behaviour. I had a 3-year-old running my life and my finances and everything. A 3-year-old making decisions, because that was where I'd gone back to. I'd gone back to survival, and it's going deeper. And even though I'd been working in this field, healing, working with wounds for, at that point it was about 18 years, and I still needed help. I needed someone to create, or people to create, a space that was safe for me. It was safe for me to heal the 3-year-old, the 5-year-old and the 8-year-old. In fact, in the end, I did those 3 myself, and that was having honest conversations with them in times where I went into fight, flight, form, freeze, where I spiraled out of control. And that was an everyday occurrence for me. And maybe you recognise that. Maybe that's something that you can see in yourself. Maybe yours isn't daily. Maybe yours is weekly. Mine became weekly, monthly. And now when I do get triggered by something, I track it down and find out where it's coming from. These wounds directly affect our nervous system. It never has a chance to calm down. It's on alert all the time. And do you know, stress is okay. Stress is quite good for us. It keeps us alert. It keeps us focused. It gives us purpose, maybe. It allows us to see the purpose. But when you are continuously in this loop of stress, it takes a massive toll on the body. These wounds are hideous, and we can track them down, and this is what I do, track them down to the root, whether it's coming from a wound of shame, abandonment or betrayal. And it comes down to simply those 3 wounds. And when I work with people, I take them on a journey, not a painful journey, and we do the inner work. It's not painful. The way I work is I never take people back into that situation. They're never faced with that situation. We're looking for vibrations within the body. I work energetically, and it's such a powerful technique. I learnt it 2 decades ago, more than that, over 2 decades ago. And back in 2013, before this latest exploration of wounding happened, I was working with ancestral wounding and how these threads go back for centuries. And I call them threads because they are energetic threads. I see them as tentacles that go out and they travel through time. And then we've got the nearer ones, the ones that are passed down from mother to daughter, father to son. And I've been talking about this for 15 years, maybe longer. We grow up in a family tribe. That tribe is supposed to protect us. Ingrained within us are survival codes. Years ago, if you were kicked out of your tribe, you were on your own, it would be hard to survive. And those codes still live within us. A fear to be thrown out of our tribe would mean death. Now, this is absolutely true for young children. How would a young child survive kicked out of the family unit? And then add into that up until the ages of 7 or 8 years old. And I always say 7 or 8, we mature in different ways at different times. Not everybody wakes up on their 7th birthday and you've got a different perspective. For some it will be younger, for some it will be older. Around about 7 or 8 years old, or up until that age, we take on everything that we see, we hear, and we feel vibrationally as the truth. If you delve into some of your childhood, if you can remember it, it will be a vibration. It might be that now as an adult, as an empath, you can walk into the room and read it. Energetically, you can feel whether it's cold, whether it's warm. And when I say whether it's warm or cold, I'm talking about whether it's welcoming or not. You might be able to energetically spot someone and feel their wounds. That is a survival mechanism. That vibration was fine-tuned for your own safety. And when we work with wounds, we don't undo that. We remove the wounding, the root. I talk about it like a verruca. If you don't get the root of a verruca out, this virus out of your body, it sits there and it lays dormant and it waits until the right environment and it triggers again. And this is exactly what happens with our wounds, whether they're our wounds or somebody else's wounds. And actually, that is part of the work that I do. Something I discovered around about 2017, 2018. Some of these wounds weren't mine. They've been handed to me. They've been given to me. Much like a generational or ancestral wounding, but not as deep, not running through the threads. This was more of a gifting. This is more of dumping all the rubbish. And this is why you feel dark and heavy, or some of you will, because we're all different. One thing you can do is ground yourself. And from that place, you can see what's going on, or you can ask yourself what's going on. Am I responding? Am I reacting? Is this a wound? Why am I feeling this way? Maybe take the week, the next 7 days, and say to yourself, look, I've done this before. I've been here. I thought I'd healed this. What is it? What's going on for me? Try journaling. Breathing's fantastic as well. That's a great way of grounding, calming down your nervous system, and then you're able to have a different conversation. When my world came crashing down back in 2016, although I was aware that that was going to happen, although part of me wanted it to happen, it was still very painful. I didn't realise how enmeshed. I didn't realise how bonded I was. There was a lot of things I didn't realise at that time. The one thing that came out of it, and I'd recognised many years before I met my now ex, I wondered why it was. And this was perhaps following another relationship ending. But I remember really clearly putting that together and thinking, why is it that people think I'm absolutely amazing? They love this about me and this about me until we get into a relationship. And then they try to change me and to squash me. Combined with that and all the emotions that I had coming out of this relationship, and also at that point I had just written or downloaded, it wasn't published, it was in note form, it was on my laptop, my book Finding Lily. That had opened up a lot. I'd seen a lot. I'd made a lot of comparisons. I could see the patterns in the characters. They would look different, they talk differently, they were the same person or very similar. And I could also directly point them back to other people that had been in my life that played a very similar role. For me, I knew it was time to say enough. I'm never doing this again. When I see the red flag, that's it. Just one, not 3, not 4, a whole field of them. On instinct, I would say no. But it was that I'm never doing this again. Enough is enough. And perhaps that's what you're saying. That's where you are. Enough now. And if that is where you are, you can book a soul alignment call with me. And in that session, I will tune into your field, your energetic field, and we'll sense where you are. And I'll give you a clear map of how to move forward. And the link for that is in the show notes. As always, I'm sending you loads and loads of love until next time. If your whole being whispers enough, then you're ready. The next step is simple. Book a soul alignment call. I will attune to your field, sense what's going on, what's alive for you, and map where your healing begins.